I will tell you this. As I was reading through my notes today, I sometimes, excuse me, sometimes when I'm writing out notes for classes and things like that, my mindset is that this is going to impact a lot of people. A lot of people are going to get some value out of this. I don't know how many people are going to get value out of this. Some of you might not care. Somebody's going to get some value out of this. That much I know. At least one person in this room is going to go, that makes sense. Okay. That's my thoughts on this information that I'm writing. So there you go. All right. So today we're going to talk about switching from being an agent to being an educator. Making the switch from being a real estate agent to being an educator. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, yeah, blinding flash the obvious. We have to educate people, so on and so forth. I get that. We're going to really dive into this a little bit more today. So maybe it makes a little bit more sense and why this is so important. This really hit me in the face Tuesday of last week. Okay. So I'm not a big social media guy, but what I do is I follow a number of business accounts. Some real estate, some just general business, stocks, variety of other different things. Because I just want to know what's going on in the business world. Okay. Things to know, things to not know. Okay. I don't really care what people had for lunch. So I really just follow kind of some of these business accounts. So I'm scrolling through these business accounts and I'm just seeing what the articles that are posted. So I scroll and I see one article, real estate article that says, housing market still hot, you should buy now. Okay. I don't read the article, but that's the headline of the article. Next article is another business account, not real estate related. And then the very next article, so 2 articles later, is another real estate article that says housing boom is officially over. Okay, so let's back up here for a second. I got one article that says housing market still hot, you should buy now. And then the very next real estate article says housing boom is officially over. Now, I didn't read either one of these articles, so I don't know what they specifically said. But now keep in mind, too, these are from sources that we would deem at least reputable, such as, it could be a New York Times, an LA Times, realtor.com, or, something that's known. It's not Bob's real estate blog from Delaware. All right. So consumers are seeing this, which means consumers are confused. Because a consumer sees the same information that I'm seeing, and now they're going, well, wait a second. Is the market hot? Should I buy now? Or is the housing boom over? So this really hit me in the face that we have to become better educators for our position instead of just being real estate agents. So that's kind of where this stemmed for, but we're going to dive into more about what that means to be an educator. So here's the first thing I wrote down. Let me start with a question. If you were to ask 100 random people, you went out in the streets and you had a little survey, you went and asked 100 random people who they have more respect for, educators or real estate agents, who would get the most votes? Educators, right? Educators would get more votes. If you ask 100 random people, who do you have more respect for, educators or real estate agent, educators would get the most votes. So why is that? I wrote down here, because most real estate agents are part-time at best. Most real estate agents are terrible at their job. Most real estate agents only care about making a little bit of money. Most real estate agents give the profession a bad name. That's the general concept of most people. If you were to ask them, who do you have more respect for, educators or real estate agents? This is why they would pick educators. So the question I wrote down here is, why associate yourself with that particular group of people? Now, here's what I mean. Bernie Gallerini. When we had Bernie Gallerini on here, Neil Mastermind, Bernie Gallerini, if you don't know who Bernie Gallerini is, he's an agent out in Hendersonville, Tennessee. when he was an individual producer, he was doing 150 to 200 deals a year. He's now built a team that does over 700 deals a year, and the gross commission is almost $10 million as a team. Okay, guys got it figured out. And he said here, I hate when people call me a real estate agent. I hate when people call me a real estate agent. And he listed all the reasons why. He says, I am a professional telemarketer, entrepreneur, businessman, educator who just happens to have a real estate license. Because he doesn't want to be called a real estate agent because of all the things I just mentioned. So shifting the mindset from I'm just a real estate agent to being an educator changes the perception of who you are to yourself and to the public. You don't want to be considered a real estate agent because of all the things that we just mentioned, and Bernie Gallerini said the exact same thing. So I wrote down here next, shaping minds. Shaping minds. So let's talk about an educator. Let's talk about an educator from a real estate agent perspective. An educator's job is to shape the minds of kids, starting from the basics when they're 4 to 5 years old up to the advanced life preparation when they're in their 20s. But that's, we've all heard the term, we're shaping minds, right? That's an educator's job, is to shape the minds of kids. They teach kids what's right, what's wrong, what's real, what's fake, what happened and what didn't happen, what possibly could happen and what could never happen. And they do this because kids don't know any better. Their minds are not formed enough. They don't know enough about the topics. They need someone to form their minds, shape their minds, and teach them these things. Because what would happen if educators didn't teach kids these things? If educators weren't shaping young minds, what would happen? Well, we all know what would happen. The kids would go crazy, okay? The kids would go nuts. They would run around like maniacs all day drinking soda and eating candy. If there's nobody shaping their minds and teaching them what's right and what's wrong, what's real and what's fake, that's what they would do. Think about yourself when you're 5 years old. If your parents left you the choice, would you eat broccoli and drink lots of water? Would you read and write all day? No. You'd say, give me that soda, give me that Snickers bar. I'm going to go do backflips off the monkey bars. Okay, that's what you would do as a kid. You'd be running around like crazy because nobody's telling you what you should be doing. Then what do those kids do? They would go tell all their friends that this is the best way to go about life. They should also forget the school, the reading, the math. They should just run around all day, hopped up on Mountain Dew and M&Ms. That's the best way to go do things. The kids in this case are running the show, and what they believe to be true is the truth, that this is the way of doing things. This is the way they should be. Candy, soda, run around like crazy. Forget the basics. Kids need somebody to sit them down and tell them this is what you should be doing. Okay? I hope this is making sense so far. The kids in this example are the general public in regards to the real estate market. They think what they want to think. They act how they want to act. They believe what they want to believe. And in their minds, they have it all figured out. Then they tell all their friends and family in their group settings what they have figured out about the real estate market. And now you have an entire group of people that believe something that may or may not be true, but it's true to them. Because adults, like kids, need somebody to sit them down and tell them what's real and what's not, and nobody is doing that. Instead, we're not being educators and shaping minds. Instead, we're being real estate agents and just saying things, hope that we'll get a buck. And you have to shift the mindset, because right now, we've said this many times before, but I really believe it right now. This is probably the most confusing time there is to be around real estate for any general consumer. They have no idea what's going on. Are prices still going up or are prices going down? What about, are interest rates going up or interest rates down? Are people buying and selling with the coronavirus and the Delta variant? What about the summer? Is it a hot summer market? Well, I heard things get worse down at the end of the year. They have no idea what is happening. And yet all these circles, all these things being spread out to them, they need an educator. They need somebody to sit them down and tell you, this is what's real and this is what's not real. And that's your job. Your job is to be an educator with your database and the people you talk to, because then when you do that, like in the example of the kids, if you let the kids run everything, they go tell other kids. If you can be an educator and tell people what's real and what's not real, then guess what? When they go tell other people, they're spreading your message. They're not spreading their own message. People are not looking for knowledge, they're looking for confirmation. What that means is that they have it all figured out in their head. Well, no, prices are definitely. Well, why? Well, I read it somewhere. I heard it somewhere. They don't have the real data, but in their head, no one's told them that's right or what's wrong. So they'll just believe the prices are going down. And now their entire family and friends know that the prices are going down because they think so. Whereas if you tell them what's really going on in their marketplace, now they spread the word. Does this make sense to anybody?
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm watching my participant level go down at a rapid rate. I knew that was going to happen with this topic. I knew it. I knew this was going to have some people not care. I was aware of that already. Okay. So that's the point of this. Okay. You have to be educator. So I wrote down here 6 ways that being an educator can actually help you as a real estate agent. Okay. 6 ways that being an educator can actually help you as a real estate agent. So we're going to go through those right now. So the first one I wrote down is everyone is unique and needs to be treated like individuals. Everyone is unique and needs to be treated like individuals. So when you're an educator, you walk into a classroom and you realize, especially here in Southern California, United States, that you have a classroom full of different backgrounds, different experiences, different needs, different learning curves. So treating all the students the same is just going to be a failure. You have to adapt the lesson plan to meet the needs of the classroom. You might have to modify the content for each individual person. You have to teach people in different ways because they're coming at it from different angles. This is the same way as being a real estate agent, is that you have to treat every single person individually. You can't just put a blanket pitch to everyone in your database, a blanket pitch to everybody you talk to. Here's a blanket pitch. The market's hot. You should take advantage. That is lame. It's so lame. Market's hot. Okay. Been hearing that for a decade. When is the market cool? Well, it takes a global economic collapse like in 2008, apparently. The market's hot. You should sell now. Okay, got it. So you have to treat each prospect differently. You have to talk to an investor and pitch to an investor differently than a first-time buyer. You have to talk to an amiable different than you have to talk to a driver. You have to talk to someone who's very conservative differently than someone who's very aggressive. You have to talk to buyers differently than you have to talk to sellers. You can't just use one blanket statement about the real estate market and expect to make any progress. You have to know the client, you have to know your database, and you have to talk to them that affects them individually. And if you don't know what kind of client it is, ask questions to figure out the type of person they are, and then customize your approach to that. Give you an example, okay? An investor, if you know someone is an investor, they're an aggressive investor, then you can go at it from an angle of, well, let's talk about the numbers of investing long-term on a 4-unit property. This is what the rents are. This is blah, 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 blah. If you were to go at that angle about, hey, have you ever thought about buying an investment property, to someone who you know is a very conservative person and just spent all their money on their first home, that it's over. You're not connecting with them whatsoever, and they know it. So ask questions, find out the type of person that they are, and customize your approach to everyone individually. Okay. So sometimes when you're getting a lot of blank stares, or you're getting a lot of people that just don't seem to care about what you're saying, it's because you're doing too many blanket statements. Can't do that as an educator. You have to do everything differently. Okay. So asking a lot of questions can help figure that out. I wrote down here number 2. Number 2, keeping current is crucial. Second way an educator can help you be a better real estate agent, keeping current is crucial. So think about being an educator in today's world. Are we allowed to go in the classroom, or are we on virtual? We're in class, we're in virtual, we're in class, we're in virtual. Oh, they can wear masks, they don't have to wear masks. They can go do recess, they can't do recess. They have to constantly stay current with what's going on. What are the different mandates? What are the different approaches? What are kids into? You have to stay up to date with everything that's going on, not only from the mandates or the requirements, but pop culture, okay? The things that kids are learning and what they're into, so you can better relate to them. Well, in sales, it's the same thing. You need to stay one step ahead of the prospects. And this requires staying current on trends and keeping your skills sharp. So you have to stay educated and continually learn new skills. So here's the thing, though, about being a real estate agent, is that you have to stay, this is the key line that I just said, you have to stay one step ahead of the prospects. And in today's world, our prospects, our database, our clients, they have access to so much information. They can go to Redfin, they can go to Zillow, they can just Google stuff, and there's all these articles. They have so much access to information that they feel that they're ahead of the game, that they know what's going on, that they have a great understanding of what's happening. Your job is to stay one step ahead of them of what they're reading. And now that could just be, yes, what you're reading is national. Let me tell you what's going on locally. I know it said this, but this is what's coming. You have to stay one step ahead. I wrote down here, if you're not educating the client about something, then what value do you have? If they know something before you do, or they know more about something than you do, what value do you have? If you go to the client, well, let me tell you about what's going on in your marketplace, and they say, yeah, you know what, I'm on Redfin every day, I'm already well aware. Then what value do you have? You have to be able to stay one step ahead. You have to be able to keep them current, not them keeping you current. I wrote down here, if a buyer is sending you listings to see and not the other way around, what value do you have? Buyer sends you listings, say, I want to go see these. Then you're really just a door opener. And why would they work with you instead of just trying to go to a listing agent or trying to go find another agent that might be able to help them out? If a seller knows the prices of the homes that have sold or are listed in the area, and you don't know all the prices, what value do you have? If they know about a for sale by own in the area and you don't, what value do you have? What if they know something about a new development, a new business center, like a stadium or a shopping mall, and you don't know about these things? They won't work with you. So you have to be the one that's one step ahead of them at all times, just the same way an educator is of a student. That's why there's a learning process in schools, so the teachers can stay ahead of the students. Because when you get to high school, they don't make you do, hey, what's 3 times 3? The students are like, well, this is stupid. Why is this teacher trying to teach me about this? There's no value there. But when you're 9 in the 3rd grade, you don't know what that is. So, wow, the education's great. They're keeping you one step ahead. You have to be the same way. All be one step ahead of your prospects. So I wrote down here, how do you stay one step ahead? Know your market stats, local market stats, because everything that they read is either national or regional. And we know that in your city, whatever city that is, the numbers are different than what's going on nationally, because real estate is local. Real estate is not national. A client who reads an article about, okay, think about this. The average home price, do you know what the average home price is nationally? The average home price nationally is $340,000. Now, where in Southern California would the average home price be $342,000? Sure. Palmdale or a tree house in West LA? Okay. So my point is that when people read stuff nationally, it's no comparison to what's going on in Southern California. And realistically, when you look at Southern California as a whole, it might be totally different in LA County or Orange County, or it might be different in your specific city. Real estate is local. It's not national. So one of the ways you stay ahead of your clients is they could say, well, I read this. I understand that. Well, you read that where? What was a New York Times article? Okay, great. That's a national article. Let me tell you about what's going on in Brea, wherever they live. This is what's going on. Oh, wow, I had no idea. That's one way you can stay ahead. You can stay ahead by showing them the trends, showing them charts. Because all they read is the sales price is this, homes are hot market, this many offers. I heard homes are flying off the shelves in like 3 days. Well, actually, the average days on market is 18. They don't know that. So know your market stats, know what's going on. Do research about what's going on in the area. How in God's name you could try to go to a seller in Inglewood and not have any information on how the stadium impacted the real estate market there is beyond me. But yeah, people do it. Well, I'm going on a listing presentation in Inglewood. Yeah, how's the stadium affected things? Why are you asking me? You should know that stuff. Well, you know, they're building a new development there. Do the research on your community. This is why Neil always says, get bigger by getting smaller. Well, you know, Robert, I'm based in Arcadia and the listings in San Clemente. I don't know anything about the San Clemente market. Oh, that's right. You should probably refer that to somebody who does. Because if you try to go to a seller and they know more about the San Clemente market than you do, why would they give you anything? Keeping current is crucial. All right, number 3, I wrote down here, embrace change. Third way being an educator can help you be a better real estate agent. Embrace change. So as an educator, imagine being, so for most of us haven't been in school for a while. Okay, unless maybe you went back. Not calling anybody here old, just saying we haven't been in school for a while. So if we went back to school today, would it be a little bit different? I mean, I wasn't around when they had iPads in classrooms or MacBooks, you know, or anything along those lines. They didn't have those in my schools. Those weren't even invented yet. So as an educator, if you don't adapt to the changes of technology, if you don't adapt to the changes of the new systems, if you don't adapt to the changes of what's going on, then you get left in the dust. That's why the truth is, and it's just a reality, is that there's very rarely very old educators. Not because they're not smart or they lost their wits, is that they haven't kept up with the times and kids can't relate to them. Sometimes that's not always the case, but that's why typically there's not a lot of them. Okay. The kids lose interest. They don't focus. Whereas if you adapt and you learn the iPods and the iPads and all these other different things that help the kids, they'll relate to you and they'll end up getting better scores. There's actually all kinds of research on this. So as a real estate agent, you also have to embrace change. Now, some things aren't going to change. We are in the talk to people business. We talk about that all the time. You have to be in front of people. You have to call. You have to door knock. You have to do all these other different things. But you also have to embrace change. And some of you have done a great job of that. Zoom is a way of embracing change. There are still clients that don't want to meet in person. They want to do a virtual presentation. You need to know how to do that. You need to know a little bit more about how to do text messages. Even if you're not a big texter, people may text. You need to know how to respond to that. You need to know how to do technology, a CRM, and how to efficiently. You need to know how to operate a calendar. You have to be able to embrace change. You have to accept the fact that clients have more information and that they just don't, as Mike Ferry would say, they don't take your word as gospel. Because 30 years ago, they didn't have access to all this information. So they just assumed that if you said something, that was right. Well, now they don't have to believe that. You have to accept that. You have to be able to show things. You have to be articulate. You have to accept the fact that people are going to charge less and less commission, and you have to be able to overcome that. You have to embrace change. It is what it is. Same way as an educator, same way as being a real estate agent. The clients have changed. The people have changed. It is what it is. I wrote down here number 4. You are part of a team. The way an educator can help you be a better real estate agent is that you're part of a team. Hold on one second. Had to adjust the AC in the room. It's getting a little toasty in here. You have to accept the fact that you're part of a team. Educators work as a team. They meet with other educators to talk about different classroom etiquette, different game plans, different books. Okay. They work with the higher ups, the school boards, the principals on developing a curriculum that best fits the students. They work as a team. It's not a one educator per school system and they go rogue. They work in a team. In sales, you are at your best when you work as a team. Not as a team with other real estate agents, but as a team with your transaction coordinator, with your escrow officers, your title officers, your insurance people. If you have an assistant, your assistant. When you work as a team, it's better. There's nobody that does real estate in extremely high volume that says, I do it all by myself and I don't get any help from anybody. There are agents that do that. They just don't produce at a high volume. The best educators work as a team. The best real estate agents work as a team. Now, it's the same way with that relates to your clients, is that when you provide a team aspect for them. Now, I'm going to explain this in a second because some of you are going to jump to the team thing. When you provide the team aspect, it makes them feel that there's a bunch of people helping them and that there's a bunch of people on the same page, which combats whatever ideas they might come up with because you have a whole team surrounding them to help them. I'm not telling you to go out and hire an assistant, a buyer's agent, another listing agent, listing coordinator, an ICA, and all these other different things. That I'm part of the Robert Hertel team. No. What I'm saying is that have your transaction coordinator, have your escrow officer, your title rep, and make that part of your sales team, then the clients will appreciate that a little bit more because they feel the comfort of they have a bunch of people at high levels in each category. This is where teams fail, is that everyone does the same thing. Well, we have a team. We have everyone working for you. How are you all working for me? You're all agents. That makes no sense. It's you and 2 other buyer's agents. How are you all working for me as a seller? It makes no sense. But when you create the team that they're all working for them, is you have high level of expertise in a variety of different categories. Yes, you only need 1 agent, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. So you don't need a team of 3 agents. That's stupid. But you have a title rep, an escrow officer, a transaction coordinator, blah, 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 blah. So in every category of the real estate transaction, you have an expert working for you. That helps your clients feel better. That helps you operate more effectively. You're part of a team. That's the way this goes. The other part of the team aspect, which goes about being an educator, is that when you have everyone on your team on the same page, it keeps the client in line and not reading something else and going off the edges. Because if you're providing the same information to the client and the same message, and the escrow officer is providing the same message, because if they don't like what you'll say, they will go ask the escrow officer, and the title reps providing the same message. If 5 or 6 different people providing the same message, the client is almost kind of boxed in to where they can't say, oh, but I read this. Work as a team. You have a better way of keeping that thing in order. Yeah, I wrote down here yes.
Yeah, I just got a question for you. You and Neil, when recruit agents, what is more efficient for you? When you present masters, you present it as a team of professionals that are going to help the new agent, or you just say Neil? What is the team better, right?
100%. 100%. It's a great question, Michael. When we're recruiting, what people like about the company the most is that there's so many people to call. So, give you an example. When we're recruiting, one of the biggest issues that agents have in their offices when they come to ours is that there's a manager in the office and they're everything. They're the coach, the trainer, the recruiter, the IT person. Before I came to Century 21 Masters, that's what I was. I helped Keller Williams build a couple offices, and then they had me stationed at one. And my whole thing was, I'm going to help you build some offices. I'll do some recruiting, do some coaching things. And then all of a sudden I was everything. And I'm only good at one of those things. So what they like about here is we create the team aspect of like, hey, if you have sales questions, I can help you out. Neil can help you out with that. If you have contract or legal questions, you have Cindy that can help you out with that. If you have IT questions, you have Jesse that can help you out with that, or there's whoever else we have. That's the thing. They like that it's like a group of people there to help them. It's a good question. Good question. All right, 2 more points here. Number 5. Number 5 on how being an educator can help you as a real estate agent is you are responsible for your success. Now, this is a little bit of a kind of seems like a contradiction to that number 4 is that you work as a team. Yeah, you have to work as a team. But ultimately, if a student is failing, you have to take that as your kind of the team lead, and that's your responsibility. If your classroom has low test scores, you have to take that as a responsibility, even though it might be a team failure. The entire school system might be a failure, but if your class has low test scores, if your students are failing, you have to take that upon yourself as I'm not connecting with them as an educator. It's the same way as being in sales, working with your database. If you are not educating them at a high level and they don't believe you, you're failing as a real estate agent. If your clients are going to work with other people, then you're failing as a real estate agent. If you're not getting any referrals, now I'm not saying everyone's got to refer you, because the truth is, if you maybe 5% of people will ever refer you anybody. Okay, that's just the way it is. But if you're not even getting those people to refer you business, you're failing as a real estate agent. You're not connecting with them enough. Okay, So the responsibility, same way as an educator, if the class is failing, you have to take responsibility. As an agent, we have to take responsibility too. But if you're educating at a high level, if you're an educator and you're educating the students at a high level and you're connecting with them, they will have higher test scores. As a real estate agent, if I'm educating my database and my clients at a high level and not just after the money, they will appreciate me more and I will get more business. It all comes down to how you educate the classroom, how you educate your database, how you educate your clients. They want to know that they have someone who's giving them an educational stance, not just a normal real estate agent who's in it for the money. You have to kind of take that stance, but it's your responsibility to do that. And then the last thing I wrote down here on number 6 on how being an educator can help you as a real estate agent is it's not about your opinions, it's about the truth. It's not about your opinions, it's about the truth. So here's what I mean. As an educator, your job is not to tell people your opinion of what happened in the history books. Your job is to teach the history. And when you start giving your opinion on history as an educator, you typically lose half the classroom, maybe even more. It's the same thing. You're just telling the truth about what happened in history, okay? It's the same thing as being a real estate agent. Your job is to keep your database, keep your clients, keep your leads informed with the truth, not your own specific opinions. Because when you start sharing your opinions, then it is just an opinion, which means I, as a client, can choose to believe it or not believe it. And if it doesn't benefit me, I won't believe it, even if it is the truth, because I think it's just your opinion and I think you're in it for a paycheck. There's that old adage, right? The truth will set you free. But here's an example. Sometimes we'll get this question is, how do I pitch this to an investor that they should sell now? You don't pitch to an investor that they should sell now. You just give them the information and it's their choice if they want to sell now or not. But when you try to force people to sell, when you try to persuade people to sell, they'll read right through you. It's not about your opinion. It's simply about telling the truth about what's going on and letting people form their own opinion and their own decisions. It's the same thing with being a real estate agent. I'm calling my database not because I'm trying to get you to sell or buy. I'm just giving you the information. And if you think that now's the time to buy or sell, I'm here to help you. But how many times do you get a bunch of deals if you just call people and say, the market's hot, you should sell now? Okay. Very few people are going to go, oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh. No one's told me that yet. But if you call people and say, hey, I just want to give you an update of what's going on in the marketplace, blah, 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 blah. Who do you know that might be looking to buy or sell? They might say, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that. Tell me more. It's not about the opinions. It's about just telling the truth. It's the same way as being an educator. The history is what it is. Math is what it is. There's no argument. It's just teach it, tell it, let people form their own decisions or how they want it, or let them take the information and use it however way they want. Same thing with working your database. Here's the information. Boom, boom, boom. You decide, Mr. Client, what you want to do with it. I'm here to help if you have any questions. If you take that approach, this approach from your database and your clients and your leads as being an educator and not just being a real estate agent of trying to get people to buy or sell, I promise you, you will end up with more business. Now, listen to the buy and selling signs. Well, that sounds really interesting. Maybe I should sell now. Okay, let's talk about it. And you jump all over it because you are a salesperson. but go at it from an educator standpoint. It's a very, very, very confusing time right now. I mean, the world in general is confusing, but in real estate, it's very confusing. There's a lot of stuff being said out there. People need an educator the same way, going back to the beginning, that kids need an educator to shape their mind, to tell them what's right and what's wrong. Otherwise, they'll run around with candy and soda. You have to be that educator to your database. Take the confusion away and do this. So I wrote this, the last point I wrote down here. You may consider approaching everybody with this one basic thought, is asking them or saying to them, look, I'm sure you've heard, read, or seen something about the real estate market. Do you have any questions based on what you've seen? Let them open up to you. Well, I read this. Okay, that's, yeah, that could be 100% true. Or you could say, well, that's interesting. Let me tell you a little bit how that's not exactly accurate. But let them open up to you because you know they've read, heard, or seen something. Just tell it to them and let them tell you what they've heard, read, or seen, and then educate them if they're right or wrong. You may consider doing that. If you do that, you'll find more business. Questions on anything I went over today? Oh, okay, good. Well, my goal today, I knew this was not going to be impactful for everybody. My goal today was hopefully that was impactful for one person, okay? And the fact that I only lost 4 people in the process makes me feel pretty good. All right, I thought for sure I'd have lost a lot more from the time I started. So for those of you that stuck around, I appreciate